The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was beyond anything humanity had imagined. Ambassador Patricia Stone stood in the center of a massive, crystalline sphere that stretched so far in every direction that the walls seemed to fade into infinity. Suspended platforms floated at different heights, each holding representatives from alien civilizations that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years before humans even invented the wheel. The air itself hummed with translation fields, carrying voices in 100 different languages simultaneously. Patricia's heart pounded, but she kept her face calm. Beside her, Marcus Webb tried not to stare at the assembled aliens. Some resembled nothing from Earth's imagination. Crystalline beings pulsed with inner light. Gas clouds contained within force fields shifted colors as they communicated. Creatures with too many limbs or no limbs at all watched the two humans with expressions that ranged from curiosity to open contempt. This was the heart of galactic power. Every decision that affected trillions of lives across thousands of worlds was made in this chamber. And today, humanity itself was on trial. The human delegation will explain their actions, a voice boomed through the translation matrix. The speaker was Archon Melf, an ancient being whose species had been leading the council for centuries. His form was difficult to focus on, as if he existed slightly out of phase with normal reality. You stand accused of violating the Accord of Civilized Conduct. The Krell Dominion has filed formal complaints. How do you answer? Patricia took a deep breath. Earth had waited so long for this opportunity. Humanity had spent decades preparing for contact, building ships, learning languages, proving they deserved a place among the stars. And now it might all end because of one simple act of kindness. Honored Archon, members of the Council, Patricia began, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. We are guilty of nothing more than basic decency. A rippling sound echoed through the space. Commander Vrax of the Krell Dominion was laughing. His species had conquered 14 star systems before joining the Council. They were warriors, disciplined, and brutal. His armored form gleamed under the chamber's lights, his carapace shifting from blue to deep crimson. Decency? Vrax's translator made the word sound like a curse. You violated established law. You interfered with lawful enforcement. You undermined centuries of social order. He gestured, and holographic displays appeared around Patricia and Marcus, showing security footage from a space station. And you did this for a Villani. The way he said the species name carried pure contempt. Patricia had learned enough about galactic politics to understand why. The Villani had once ruled a mighty empire, but they had refused to participate in the Krell's wars of conquest 800 years ago. For that crime, their civilization had been crushed, their people reduced to laborers and farmers on 3 forgotten worlds. They held no power, no influence, no voice in the council. We paid for someone's meal, Marcus said quietly. His voice was steady despite the weight of judgment pressing down on them. That's all? All? Vrax surged forward, his massive form suddenly dominating the visual field. You humiliated Krell enforcement officers. You challenged our authority over lesser species. You suggested that the natural order of power in this galaxy can be changed by simple charity. His carapace flushed darker. Your species has been a candidate for council membership for barely 2 years. You are the youngest, weakest civilization ever to petition for a seat. And already you dare to question how we maintain order? Patricia felt the moment shifting. Every alien eye in the chamber was fixed on them now. Some species looked intrigued. Others seemed angry. Many just appeared confused about why this was even an issue. Perhaps, Archon Melf said, his voice cutting through the tension, we should review what actually happened. Humans are new to galactic society. They may not understand the implications of their actions. His attention focused on Patricia. Tell us everything. Leave nothing out. The council will judge based on complete information. This was their chance. Their only chance. Patricia exchanged a glance with Marcus, seeing her own fear reflected in his eyes, but also determination. They had done nothing wrong. They both knew it. Now they just had to make the most powerful beings in the galaxy understand. It began 23 days ago on Nexus Station, Patricia started. The holographic displays shifted, expanding to show the commercial district of the massive trading hub where dozens of species mingled. Attach Webb was there on routine observation duties. He witnessed what he believed to be an injustice. The footage began to play. Marcus walking through crowds of aliens, his attention caught by a commotion at a restaurant. An old Villani sitting alone at a table surrounded by 3 Krell guards in full enforcement armor. The audio came through clearly. Your credits are insufficient. You will leave or be removed. The old alien looked up with eyes that held such weariness. I was certain I had enough. Please, if you just check again. We checked. Your meal costs 180 credits. Your account shows 47. You attempted fraud. Patricia watched the council members as they saw the old Villani's hands tremble, trying to access his datapad. There must be a mistake. I've been coming here for years. They know me. Please, just let me contact. The guard's hand clamped down hard on the elder's shoulder. You leave now, or we process you for theft. In the footage, Marcus moved through the crowd. Patricia had watched this recording 100 times, but it still made her chest tight. Her attach approaching 3 armored Krell guards without hesitation, without backup, without any plan except to help. Excuse me, is there a problem? The guards turned to face him. Human, this does not concern you. Move along, what's the total bill? Marcus asked, ignoring the warning. The Villani is a debtor attempting fraud. You will not interfere with Krell enforcement. Marcus pulled out his credit chip. I'll cover it. Add 20% for the restaurant. The silence in the recording matched the silence in the council chamber. Every being watching seemed frozen, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. You would pay? The guard in the footage asked. For this? The Villani has no claim on you. No debt bond, no family connection. Why would you? Because he's hungry and I have credits, Marcus said simply. Do you want the payment or not? The transaction completed. The guards left, clearly confused and angry. The crowd dispersed. And Marcus turned to walk away, apparently thinking his part was done, but the old Villani caught his sleeve. Wait, please, I must know your name. The footage paused there, frozen on the moment when everything changed. Patricia looked around the chamber, seeing the reactions. Some aliens seemed moved. Others appeared angry. Many just looked baffled. What you are seeing, Patricia said carefully, is what we call compassion. It's not a political strategy. It's not a calculated move for advantage. It's simply what we do when we see someone suffering. It's weakness, Commander Vrax declared. It's primitive emotional response that has no place in galactic affairs. Or, Patricia countered, meeting his gaze directly, it's the foundation of civilization itself. The chamber erupted with voices, arguments breaking out across species lines. Archon Melf raised appendages for silence. We will hear the complete story, he declared. Then we will decide if humanity's compassion is a gift to the galaxy or a threat to everything we have built. Ambassador Stone, continue. Patricia nodded, feeling the weight of Earth's future resting on what happened next. 3 weeks before the tribunal, Marcus Webb had been living his dream. Being a diplomatic attach on Nexus Station meant standing at the crossroads of galactic civilization. The station was an engineering marvel, a place where species from across the galaxy traded goods, exchanged information, and tried not to start wars with each other. The commercial district alone was larger than most Earth cities, filled with restaurants and shops catering to every imaginable. Biology. Marcus had strict instructions from Ambassador Stone. Observe, learn, stay quiet, and absolutely do not cause trouble. Humanity was still on probation. Earth had only made official contact with galactic civilization 2 years ago. They were the new kids, the primitives, the species everyone was still deciding whether to accept or reject. One wrong move could doom humanity's chances of joining the council. So, Marcus spent his days watching aliens go about their business, taking notes, learning how different species interacted. It was fascinating work, even if it sometimes felt lonely. Most aliens seem to view humans with suspicion or indifference. After all, what could a species that had only just developed faster than light travel possibly offer to civilizations that had been exploring the stars for millennia? He was reviewing trade statistics on his datapad when he heard raised voices. Looking up, Marcus saw a commotion at a restaurant called the Stellar Vintage. Through the transparent walls, he could see an old alien surrounded by 3 Krell guards in enforcement armor. The Krell were hard to miss. They stood over 2 meters tall, covered in segmented carapaces that could stop small arms fire. Their species had a reputation as the galaxy's enforcers, maintaining order on stations and colonies across multiple sectors. Most species gave them a wide berth. Marcus moved closer, curiosity overcoming caution. The old alien was Villani, a species he recognized from his briefing materials. They had distinctive violet skin and bifurcated skull ridges. This one looked ancient, his skin faded and his movement slow. "Your credits are insufficient," one guard was saying, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "You will leave or be removed." The old Villani looked up with eyes that seemed impossibly sad. "I was certain I had enough. Perhaps if you check again." "We have checked. Your account shows 47 credits. Your meal costs 180. You attempted to defraud this establishment." "No, I would never." The elder's hands trembled as he tried to access his own financial records. "There must be a mistake. I've been coming here for seasons. They know me. Please, just let me contact." The guard's hand clamped down on the alien's shoulder, hard enough to make the old being wince. "You leave now, or we process you for theft." Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He had seen this scene before, back on Earth. Someone vulnerable, someone powerless, being treated like they were less than nothing. The smart move was to walk away. This was not his problem. Getting involved could cause diplomatic complications that Earth could not afford. But the old Villani's eyes met his for just a moment, and Marcus saw something there that transcended species differences. Shame, fear, and a desperate hope that anyone, might help. Marcus found himself moving forward before he made a conscious decision. "Excuse me, is there a problem?" 3 armored heads turned toward him. The lead guard's optical sensors narrowed, scanning Marcus with obvious disdain. "Human, this does not concern you. Move along." "I'm just wondering what the total bill is," Marcus continued. His heart was hammering, but he kept his voice level and polite. "For the gentleman's meal." "The Villani is not a gentleman. It is a debtor attempting fraud. You will not interfere with Krell enforcement actions." Marcus looked past the guards to the old alien, who stared back with an expression that might have been hope or might have been resignation. Up close, Marcus could see details he had missed before. The elder's clothing was worn but clean, carefully mended in multiple places. His 3 eyes held a dignity that the current situation could not entirely erase. This was not some con artist running a scam. This was someone who had fallen on hard times. "How much?" Marcus asked again. 180 credits, the guard said impatiently. "Now step back before ... Marcus pulled out his credit chip, the one Earth's diplomatic corps had issued him for expenses. "I'll cover it. And add 20% gratuity for the establishment." The silence that fell over the restaurant district was sudden and absolute. Aliens of a dozen species stopped what they were doing to stare. The Krell guard's carapace flushed from blue to orange, a color Marcus had learned indicated confusion mixed with anger. "You would pay? For this?" The guard seemed genuinely baffled. "The Villani has no claim on you. No debt bond, no family connection. You are not even similar biology. Why would you—" "Because he's hungry and I have credits," Marcus said simply. "Now, do you want the payment or not?" The transaction took less than a minute. The restaurant staff processed the payment while the guards stood there, their body language radiating confusion and contempt. As soon as the credits transferred, the guards left without another word. The crowd slowly dispersed. Aliens muttering to each other in languages Marcus's translator could not quite catch. Marcus turned to leave, already starting to worry about how he would explain this to Ambassador. Stone. That was when the old Villani caught his sleeve with a hand that trembled but gripped with surprising strength. Wait, the elder said. Please, I must know your name. What you have done today, ... In my culture there are debts that transcend simple credit transfers. You have given me more than a meal. You have given me dignity when I had none. It's just credits, Marcus said, uncomfortable with the intensity in those three alien eyes. Really, it's fine. You don't owe me anything. My name is Elder Thros of the Villani Remnant, the old alien said with sudden formal dignity that seemed to add years to his bearing. And I will remember what you did this day, Marcus Webb of humanity. When the time comes, and it will come, I will repay this debt. Before Marcus could respond, the elder moved away into the station crowds with surprising speed for someone who had seemed so frail moments before. Marcus stood there alone, watching the normal flow of station life resume around him. He felt strange, like he had just stepped onto a path that would lead somewhere he could not predict. Around him, aliens gave him curious looks, some nodding slightly, others turning away quickly, across the district. In a Krell observation post that Marcus did not know existed, Commander Vrax watched the security footage replay. Once, twice, 3 times. Each viewing made his anger grow. Humans challenging Krell authority. Humans suggesting that the social order could be changed. Humans implying that a conquered species deserved dignity. This could not stand. Commander Vrax began composing a formal complaint to the Galactic Council, choosing each word carefully. He would argue that humans were too primitive, too emotional, too dangerous to be allowed into galactic society. Their actions on Nexus Station proved they did not understand or respect the systems that maintained order across thousands of worlds. And if the Council agreed, humanity would be rejected. Earth would be isolated, quarantined, left to develop alone for another 1,000 years, all because one human paid for one meal. Ambassador Patricia Stone stood in her office on Nexus Station, staring at the holographic display with the kind of cold fury that Marcus had never seen from her before. The formal complaint from the Krell Dominion glowed in angry red text, each paragraph more damning than the last. The words cultural imperialism, interference with lawful enforcement, and deliberate undermining of established interspecies hierarchy protocols stood out like accusations. Do you understand what you've done? Patricia asked quietly, still not looking at Marcus. Her voice was controlled, but he could hear the edge in it. We have been trying to gain full council membership for 2 years. 2 years of proving that humanity is not too aggressive, too primitive, too young to be trusted with interstellar politics. And in one afternoon, you... She trailed off, finally turning to face him. Marcus sat in the chair across from her desk, trying not to look as terrified as he felt. His mouth was dry. I paid for someone's meal, Ambassador. That's all? That's all? Patricia's laugh was bitter. Marcus, the Krell are not just filing a complaint. They are demanding a full tribunal. They want humanity's probationary status revoked entirely. They want us sent back to Earth and forbidden from leaving our own solar system for the next 500 years. Marcus felt his stomach drop. For paying a restaurant bill? For challenging their authority? For suggesting that their social order, where species like the Villani are considered inferior, is wrong? Patricia sank into her chair, suddenly looking exhausted. Do you know why the Villani lost their empire? Why they are confined to 3 agricultural worlds with no voice in galactic affairs? He shook his head, though he had started to guess. 800 years ago, the Villani were one of the most powerful civilizations in this sector. They controlled 40 systems and were known for their art, their philosophy, their diplomatic skills. But when the Krell Dominion began their conquest campaigns, the Villani refused to participate. They were pacifists, you see. They believed in diplomacy and peace and the inherent worth of all sentient beings. Patricia's voice was heavy. The Krell crushed them for it. Took their colonies, destroyed their fleet, reduced them to nothing. And the Council allowed it to happen because that is how things work out here. The strong dictate terms to the weak. That's barbaric, Marcus said. That's reality. And humanity is weak, Marcus. We have 6 colony ships, barely any fleet to speak of, and technology that is centuries behind most council races. We survive here because we do not make waves. Because we smile and nod and play by their rules, no matter how much we might disagree with them. Marcus was about to respond when the office door chimed. Without waiting for permission, a figure entered. It took Marcus a moment to recognize Elder Thros, the Villani he had helped at the restaurant. But the old alien moved differently now, with purpose and determination rather than the frailty he had shown before. "Ambassador Stone," Thros said formally, "I must speak with you. It concerns your attach and the debt I now carry?" Patricia's eyes widened. "Elder Thros? How did you get clearance to enter human diplomatic spaces?" "I was once a merchant prince before the fall," Thros said, a slight smile crossing his alien features. "I still have friends in station administration. More importantly, I still remember the old laws and old protocols that most have forgotten." His 3 eyes fixed on Marcus. "And I have come to tell you both that the Krell complaint is not really about restaurant bills or social order violations." "Then what is it about?" Marcus asked. "Fear," Thros said simply. He moved to the window overlooking the station's massive interior. "Commander Vrax and his people fear what your action represents. You saw an injustice, a small one that most would consider insignificant, and you acted to correct it. Without calculation, without considering the political implications, without thinking about the debt bonds and power structures that govern all interaction in this galaxy." The Elder's voice grew stronger. "You acted because it was right. And that terrifies them." "I don't see how one person paying a bill could terrify anyone," Marcus said. "Because you do not understand how fragile their system really is. The Krell Dominion rules through force and fear. They maintain the hierarchy because they have convinced everyone that it is unchangeable, inevitable, the natural order of the universe." "But you, Marcus Webb, you suggested otherwise." "You implied that an old Villani, a member of a conquered species with no power or influence, matters as much as anyone else. That dignity is not something earned through military might, but something that exists inherently in all beings." Patricia leaned forward. "Elder Thros, with all respect, the Krell have real power. They can destroy humanity's petition for council membership. They might even be able to threaten Earth directly. One act of kindness, however well-intentioned, does not change political reality." "Perhaps not by itself," Thros agreed. "But I am not the only one who witnessed what happened at that restaurant. In the past 3 days, the security footage has spread across 17 star systems. My people have seen it. Other lesser species, as the Krell call us, have seen it. And they are beginning to ask themselves a question they have not dared to ask in centuries." "What question?" Patricia asked. "What if the hierarchy is wrong? What if we do not have to accept our place at the bottom? What if compassion is not weakness, but the truest form of strength?" The CUM unit on Patricia's desk suddenly erupted with incoming messages. She glanced at the display, her expression shifting from confusion to shock. "I am getting communications from the Villani Diplomatic Corps? I did not know your people had one." "We did not," Thros said. "Until 2 days ago? Your Marcus Webb reminded us that we used to be more than farmers and laborers. We used to be a civilization of artists, philosophers, and diplomats. And now my people wish to formally support humanity's petition for council membership." "Your support will not matter," Patricia said gently, trying not to sound cruel. "No offense, Elder, but the Villani have no voting rights on the council." "You have no—" "We have the clause of ancient standing," Thros interrupted, his voice suddenly carrying an authority that made both humans sit up straighter. "Our civilization predates the Galactic Council by 3,000 years. When we surrendered our voting seat after the conquest, we never surrendered our right to invoke the old laws that allow any species to demand a full tribunal review of council candidates, complete with formal debate and advocacy from supporting civilizations." Marcus felt something shift in the room, like the political gravity had suddenly changed direction. "What does that mean exactly?" Patricia's face had gone pale. It means humanity's petition will be reviewed by the full council, not just the admissions committee, but every single member species, with formal debate, presentation of evidence, and she looked at Thros with new understanding, advocacy from supporting civilizations. Precisely, Thros confirmed. Commander Vrax wanted a tribunal to embarrass humanity and end your petition. I am giving him a tribunal that will force the entire galaxy to examine what humanity represents and whether the Council's current path is one worth continuing. His three eyes gleamed with something that might have been satisfaction. And I intend to speak on your behalf, invoking laws and precedents that have not been used in 1,000 years. After Elder Thros left, Marcus and Patricia sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of what was coming pressed down on them both. I am sorry, Marcus finally said. I never meant to cause all this trouble. Do not apologize yet, Patricia said, pulling up her datapad to review council procedures. We are either about to witness humanity's greatest diplomatic triumph or its most spectacular failure. And it all comes down to whether paying one old alien's restaurant bill can convince the galaxy that we deserve our place among the stars. She found the tribunal schedule. 3 weeks from now, in the Grand Chamber where the full council convened. Every species in the galaxy would be watching. Every decision would be scrutinized. And humanity's future would be decided not by their technology or their military strength, but by whether compassion had any value in a galaxy that had forgotten what it meant. The holographic replay of Marcus paying Elder Thros's bill ended, the final image freezing on his face as he handed his credit chip to the confused Krell guard. In the judgment sphere at the center of the Grand Chamber, Ambassador Patricia Stone waited as silence stretched across the vast space. 2,000 alien eyes watched the two humans, waiting to see how they would defend themselves against charges that could end humanity's dreams of joining galactic civilization. Archon Melf spoke first, his voice carrying the weight of 6 centuries leading the council. So the human attached paid a debt that was not his responsibility, for a being he did not know, gaining nothing from the transaction. And this, Commander Vrax, is what you claim violates the Accord of Civilized Conduct. It violates the natural order, Vrax insisted, his carapace flushed deep crimson with barely controlled anger. The Villani are a conquered people. They understand and accept their place in galactic society. This human suggested no, he demonstrated that their place could be changed by simple charity. It undermines everything the Council stands for. Everything we have built, does it? A new voice entered the discussion. Elder Thros floated in his own suspension field, looking small and frail next to the Krell commander's armored bulk. Commander Vrax, I ask you directly, what does the Galactic Council stand for? Order, strength, stability, the rule of those who are capable of ruling over those who are not. And if I told you these were not always our values? That the Council was founded on different principles entirely? Principles that your people and others have spent centuries trying to erase from memory? Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several species began talking among themselves. Even Archon Mouth's form seemed to shift with what might have been surprise. The old laws were written before the Krell Dominion existed, Thros continued, his voice growing stronger with each word. They were written before military might became the only measure of worth. The founder species, civilizations that reached the stars through cooperation rather than conquest, created this council with specific purposes, purposes that have been forgotten. Ancient history, Vrax dismissed with a wave. Irrelevant to modern governance. Is it? Thros turned to address the full council, his 3 eyes sweeping across the assembled representatives. The first accord, written 4,000 years ago and never formally repealed, states clearly, let those who would join the community of stars be judged not by their weapons, but by their wisdom. Not by their power, but by their principles. Not by their dominion over others, but by their care for the least among us. The chamber erupted. Half the council members were clearly hearing these words for the first time. Others seemed shocked that anyone would dare invoke such ancient texts. A few species, the older ones, nodded slowly as if remembering something long forgotten. No one has invoked the first accord in millennia, Archon Melf said slowly, his voice carrying undertones that Patricia could not quite interpret. It was superseded by later treaties by practical considerations. Superseded, yes. Repealed, no. And under the old laws, any member species can invoke ancient accords if they believe the Council has strayed from its founding purposes. Thross's voice rang out clearly. I invoke it now. Let humanity be judged by the original standard. Do they care for the least among us? The answer is obvious. This is absurd, Vrax snarled. The human paid one meal debt. A trivial action. You would reshape Council policy based on 19, a new voice interrupted. The speaker was Ambassador Tail of the Quellan Confederacy, a species known for remaining neutral in most Council disputes. A holographic display appeared showing data streams and timestamps. Since the incident at the Stellar Vintage, humans have performed 19 similar actions across Nexus Station. They have paid debts for strangers, provided medical assistance without compensation, offered aid to species they had never encountered before. All without any request or expectation of return. Patricia blinked in surprise. She had known about a few such incidents from her own staff, but 19? She glanced at Marcus, who looked equally shocked. We have been watching your species closely, Tail continued, addressing the humans directly. Commander Vrax's complaint made us curious about human behavior patterns. What we found was highly unusual by galactic standards. Humans help others instinctively, not strategically. Not for political advantage or future leverage. Simply because the opportunity presents itself and they have the capacity to act. They are naive, Vrax countered quickly. Primitives who do not understand interstellar politics or the careful balance of power that maintains order. Or, Elder Thross said quietly, they understand something we have forgotten. Something we lost when we decided that might makes right. He gestured, and his own holographic display appeared. It showed footage from Nexus Station from the days following Marcus's action, but not of humans. It showed Villani citizens organizing neighborhood watch programs to help elderly members of their community. It showed mixed species groups forming to share resources. It showed small acts of kindness spreading like ripples across a pond, each one inspired by what T. Hay had seen a human do. Commander Vrax, you said humanity undermined the social order. You are absolutely correct. But the order they undermined was built on apathy, on the assumption that we are too different to care about each other's welfare, that compassion is a weakness to be exploited. Marcus Webb showed my people and many others that care is not weakness. It is the foundation upon which true civilization must be built. Philosophical nonsense, Vrax growled. The Council needs strength, not sentiment. We need species that understand power, not ones that waste resources on meaningless gestures. Does it? Archon Nelf's voice cut through the chamber like a blade, silencing every other conversation. The ancient being's sensors focused entirely on the Krell commander. Commander Vrax, in the 800 years since your species conquered the Villani and established the current social hierarchy, how many new civilizations have petitioned to join the Council? Vrax hesitated, clearly not expecting the question. 17 species have joined in that time. And how many joined in the 1,000 years before that, when the older laws held more influence? The pause was longer this time. 43 species. Correct. Council membership has declined steadily as our emphasis shifted from cooperation to military dominance. Our influence has shrunk. Species now avoid us rather than seek to join us. Perhaps Elder Thross has identified something we should have recognized long ago. Perhaps we have forgotten what the Council was meant to be. The Archon's attention shifted to Patricia and Marcus, and despite his alien nature, his focus felt heavy with significance. Humans. You are young by our standards, weak by our measures of power, and yet you have caused more disruption in 3 weeks than most species cause in centuries. The question before us is fundamental. Is this disruption something we should fear and suppress, or something we should embrace and learn from? Patricia took a deep breath. This was the moment everything would be decided. Not by weapons or technology, but by words and ideas. By whether compassion had any value in a galaxy that had forgotten its importance. Archon, members of the Council, she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. We do not claim to be better than any species here. We are not smarter, stronger, or more advanced. But we have a saying on Earth that I think applies here. We say, there but for the grace of fortune go I. It means that any of us could be the one in need, the one cast down, the one forgotten by society. When we see someone hurting, we see ourselves. We see our parents, our children, our friends. She gestured to Marcus. My attached did not calculate political advantage when he helped Elder Thros. He did not think about treaties or power structures or how his actions might be perceived by the Krell Dominion. He saw someone in pain and responded with the only tool he had available, simple human kindness. If that makes us naive, then we accept that judgment. But we believe, we hope, that perhaps the galaxy could use a little more of what you call naivete. The chamber fell silent. Patricia could feel the weight of judgment from every direction, but she had said what needed to be said. Now it was up to the Council to decide what humanity's compassion was worth. Then Elder Thros spoke 5 words that changed everything. I invoke the debt of blood. Every species in the chamber reacted simultaneously. Gasps, clicks, electromagnetic pulses of shock rippled through the space. Patricia looked at Thros in confusion, seeing Marcus equally bewildered. I do not understand. What is... An old law, Archon Melf said, his voice heavy with significance that transcended translation. When one being saves another's life, dignity, or honor, the debt of blood is incurred. It binds the saved to the Savior across generations. It can only be repaid by protecting the Savior when they face judgment. He fixed his sensors on Thros. Elder, you claim this human saved more than your meal debt. You claim he saved your honor. I do, Thros said firmly. And under the old laws, I am bound to speak truth in his defense. Marcus Webb did not see a Villani, a member of a conquered species with no power or influence. He did not see a lesser being. He saw an elder in distress and acted without hesitation. He reminded me that I was once worthy of dignity, that my people were once worthy of respect. That alone is worth more than life itself. It is worth everything. The vote, when it finally came after hours of debate, was not unanimous. The Krell Dominion and its closest allies voted firmly against humanity's admission to the Council. Several species abstained, unwilling to commit either way. But when Archon Melf announced the final tally, his voice carried something that had not been heard in the Grand Chamber for centuries: genuine hope. By a margin of 62%, humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Let the record show that they were accepted not despite their weakness in military matters, but because of their strength of character. May they remind us all of what we once aspired to be. Patricia felt her knees go weak with relief. Beside her, Marcus looked stunned, as if he could not quite believe that paying for one meal had led to this moment. Around them, the chamber erupted in reactions that ranged from celebration to anger to quiet contemplation. 3 months later, Marcus stood in the observation deck of the CNS Unity, humanity's first purpose-built diplomatic vessel. Through the massive viewport, Earth rotated in serene blue and white, beautiful and fragile and completely unaware of how close it had come to isolation from the galactic community. Thinking deep thoughts? Ambassador Patricia Stone asked, joining him at the window. Wondering if we really deserve all this? Marcus admitted. All I did was buy an old man dinner. You did more than that. Patricia pulled up her datapad, showing him news feeds from across the galaxy. The Webb Doctrine, they are calling it now. 17 species have filed petitions to restore ancient Council laws that emphasize mutual aid and cooperation over military strength. The Villani have established trade agreements with 4 formerly hostile species. Even the Krell are adapting. Adapting how? They have started what they call stability initiatives in their occupied territories. Charity programs, resource sharing, community support. They are calling it smart governance, but the effect is the same. Turns out being known across the galaxy as the species that opposed basic kindness is terrible for their reputation. Marcus laughed despite himself. We changed the galaxy by paying a restaurant bill. That is completely insane. That is humanity. Patricia's expression grew serious. You know, there is more to this than just good publicity, right? Elder Thros did not invoke the debt of blood lightly. It means something real among the older species. It means the Villani are now bound by ancient law to defend humanity if we are ever threatened. They owe us. We do not need them to owe us anything. That is not why I helped. I know. But Marcus, we are still the weakest species on the Council by most measures. We have no significant fleet, our technology lags behind, and our colony worlds are barely established. In a galaxy where military power has been the primary currency for centuries, we should be nobody. But now we have something more valuable than weapons. What is that? Allies, real ones. Species that support us not because we can threaten them or bribe them, but because we proved we would help them even when we were weak and had nothing to gain? The Villani are not alone. 6 other species have approached us about formal alliance treaties. They remember the old laws too. They remember when the Council was supposed to be about cooperation. A conch chime interrupted them. The holographic display showed Elder Thros calling from the Villani homeworld. Patricia accepted the connection. Ambassador Stone, attach web, Thros said formally. Then his expression softened into what had become recognizable as a smile. I bring news from the Council of Elders. We have voted unanimously. The Villani wish to establish formal embassy relations with Earth. We would be honored, Patricia said. The honor is ours. We have also voted on who should serve as our first ambassador to humanity. Someone who understands both the value of dignity and the cost of losing it. Someone who knows humans better than most. Thros paused. If you will have me, I would like to volunteer for the position. I am old, I am stubborn, and I once could not afford to pay for my own meal. But I believe I understand your species in ways that others do not. Patricia and Marcus exchanged glances, both smiling. We would be honored, Ambassador Thros, Patricia said formally. Truly honored. After the call ended, Marcus returned to watching Earth rotate below. Do you think it will last? He asked. The goodwill, the changes, all of it? Honestly? Patricia stood beside him. I do not know. The galaxy is still dangerous. There are species out there that see kindness as weakness, that view cooperation as a liability. We will face threats, challenges, possibly even wars. The Krell and their allies have not forgotten or forgiven what they see as our interference. But you proved something important in that restaurant 3 months ago. What is that? That the smallest actions can have the biggest consequences. That standing up for someone who cannot stand up for themselves matters even when it seems pointless or dangerous. That a single human willing to do the right thing, regardless of cost or consequences, can change the course of history. Far below, Earth continued its eternal rotation, humanity's home, and now its launching point into a wider universe. A universe that had been reminded, through one man's simple act of compassion, that there were values worth more than military strength or political power. That sometimes the most important thing you could do was pay someone's bill when they needed help. In the Grand Chamber, Archon Melth added a new entry to the Council's historical records. It read, On this day, let it be noted that humanity was admitted to the Council not through force or cunning, but through compassion. Let us hope they never lose that quality. For if they do, we will have lost something precious, the reminder of what we all once aspired to be. May their example guide us back toward the principles upon which this Council was founded. And on Nexus Station, in a restaurant called the Stellar Vintage, a small plaque was installed near the entrance where everyone could see it. The text was written in 47 languages, ensuring that every species who passed through could understand its message. Here, humanity showed the galaxy that kindness transcends species boundaries, that dignity is not earned through power but exists inherently in all beings. That the most revolutionary act is sometimes simply caring about someone else's suffering. May all who enter remember this lesson. The story of Marcus Webb and Elder Thraw spread across the galaxy, told and retold in countless variations. Not as a tale of great battles or political maneuvering, but as something simpler and more profound. The story of how humanity earned its place among the stars, not through weapons or threats, but by refusing to ignore one old alien's distress. In the end, that was the most human thing of all. And the galaxy, whether it wanted to admit it or not, had been changed forever by the simple act of one person choosing compassion over indifference. The ripples from that choice would continue spreading for generations to come, touching worlds and species that Marcus would never meet, inspiring changes he would never witness. But in that moment, standing on humanity's first diplomatic ship and looking down at Earth, Marcus understood something fundamental about his species. Humans helped because they could, because someone needed it, because it was right. And no amount of political complexity or galactic power structures would ever change that basic truth about who they were. That, more than any weapon or technology, was what made humanity worthy of the stars. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.